Oh, Yasmin, we're really getting real-time reaction to this developing situation in the Middle East from participants from around the world that are gathered here in Tianjin for the World Economic Forum. The consensus from the economists, the government leaders that we've been speaking to so far today has been that the biggest factor is the unpredictability and the volatility that we are seeing in the Middle East is the biggest concern, and the kind of impact that this may have on the global economy in not just the short term, but the long term as well. Particularly, I sat down with Egypt's investment and foreign trade minister, Hassan Khatib, and asked him for his thoughts on what all this means for his country.
Overall, the word that I would describe the whole situation, it's uncertainty. It's affecting global trade. It's now affecting oil, which all of these factors would have the repercussions on major economies as well as emerging economies. In the case of Egypt, we are importers of gas, and that has a reflection in our budget, in our projections of how we see the world. But more importantly, our worry is if these conflicts prolonged in terms of time, that will create major repercussions for the global economy and for our economy as well.
Just recently, we saw the Egyptian government approve a very ambitious economic and social development plan to achieve a GDP growth target of 4.5% for the financial year of 2025. Is this ambitious target still achievable given all that's happening?
This fiscal year, which ends in a week's time, I think we're closing around 4%. So we have a good momentum. The private sector participation in investments is actually improving massively, way beyond our expectations as well. So I think the 4.5 is achievable. We're doing the final revisions to reflect the gas prices and the rest of what is unfolding globally, but I think it is achievable. What matters for Egypt is that we remain focused on the structural reforms to make sure that we have the business environment that is conducive for the private sector to lead the economic development through very clear, predictable, sustainable policies on the monetary policy, on the fiscal policy, on the trade policy, and the role of the state. And each of those policies, we've done a lot of work, and we know exactly where we would want to end up.
Have there been any recalibrations made in the longer term with all these plans to undergo structural reforms in the long run, given what's happening?
Actually, on the contrary. We you know, the saying, don't waste a crisis. So as an economic team, a member of the economic team, our view is this is our opportunity, is to expedite, to push more for the structural reforms that long overdue, but using the crisis, let's just put things in the right perspective. So we're not slowing down, we're actually going full speed.
You mentioned also crisis. Perhaps some might view the U.S. under the Trump administration's reciprocal tariffs being a threat. We know Egypt has a baseline tariff of 10%. Is it an opportunity?
The 10% is actually one of those baseline tariffs, so it puts us at an advantage vis-a-vis other countries. But our trade agenda is similar. Just to give you an example of our trade agenda, when we took that responsibility a year ago, we decided we want to take Egypt from a trade position competitiveness that is very poor. I want to be top 50 in 2 years in trade competitiveness, and in doing so we've earmarked literally 30 measures, and let me give you one. We decided to cut the time and cost to release goods at the imports by 75% in 1 year. And we're on track to achieve this. Not only by the end of the year, but actually by September this year, I think we should get to that objective. And this is a massive objective. This is a fundamentally changing the way we've done trade. But our trade, prior to the US tariffs, we want to liberalize trade, make it more competitive, easing all the non-tariff barriers that has been imposed over years. And that's how I want to open the relationship between Egypt and our trading partners, be it the US or Europe. And we want to go and say, okay, we have no issues, let's open a new page. And I hope the dialogue would be investments and trade.
You mentioned China, and you're here. We are here in Tianjin at the Summer Davos. It's your first time attending this event. How does that contribute to your goal of opening up new markets in light of the shifts that we're seeing in industrial policy or in trade?
China is an important relationship for Egypt, historically, economically, politically. And we've always in Egypt have a balanced relationship with all the parties. So the dialogue that I have with our counterparts, I met the Chinese Minister of Trade. I told him exactly what I just mentioned previously, is that it's about balancing the trade deficit through investments and trade. We talked about how we would want to see investments from Chinese companies to Egypt, making sure that we have deep industrialization with deep localization, because that's what matters. Today, the fear in the European context or the US is that Chinese companies would use some countries as a gateway, a backdoor to Europe, through minor assembly operations. That will not fly. And in the Egyptian context, we're very conscious of that. And that's how we would want to have candid discussion. I had a very candid, open discussion with my counterpart, with the Chinese companies that I met. We provide a very good opportunity for not only the Chinese companies, but any company that would want to have Egypt as a hub for their industry to export.